only thing that'll make my life more tolerable at the moment. Oh, the Mexican goodness, man. Mexican goodness right there. Makes my stomach feel all nice and warm inside. Gives me the nice, warm, fuzzy feeling I normally would feel, but can't. My heart is going cold. It's cold and dark like coal.
So if you guys can't tell already, this is going to be a fun stream because for both of us, the new year is starting off on the wrong foot. So get ready for lots of rants and grumpiness from both of us. It'll be really fun.
I got no complaints for the new year. I got no complaints at all. New Year started out really, really good. It's just today. So how is your day going, Calvin?
It's been going okay. I went to the electronics store to get some stuff for the Formbot, which I'm really starting to wonder why the heck am I putting so much time and effort into this thing, but I'm getting closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to it working. So
you put all the time and effort in it because you took and traded all your work for that.
Well, I'll put it this way.
Instead of the screen stuff called money, you traded it for a machine that was broken. So now you're trying to make it unbroken.
Well, I knew it was broken going into it. It's just, here's the main problem that I'm having is what normally works for most boards in the olden days and what works for boards now are two totally different things. It's like, good example is these are the limit switches that are on the board. These are, you know, your typical ramps ones that have the LED and they got the power and the signal and the ground and all that crap. Well, the problem is the GT25, was it 2560 that I got? It doesn't like this. It just wants to see a straight open and closed circuit. It doesn't want to see a bunch of other crap on there. So this was causing false readouts. And then the plugs that it has are not like the size that I had. So I'm just like, I've kind of been doing this, chasing my tail, but I'm getting close. Finally, the machine is starting to home itself. So that's a good thing. Then hooking up all the electrical stuff after that'll be pretty easy, but we'll get there when we get there. I've also kind of been taking it piece by piece by piece, so that way I don't get 10 steps ahead, have 100 errors, and then wonder, how do I fix it? So,
true.
I mean, I've been taking it kind of slow, but at the same time, there's a good reason why, is because I started out going off the deep end, and then it was kind of like I had to throttle back, and then, you know, we'll get there when we get there, but it's not all been super easy, but whatever.
The stereotype Calvin says Ron, he adds more A's. Ron. You're going to start doing like the Fonz, man.
Oh, it's really fun to annoy him with that.
So how's the new year treating you?
It's been going okay. I mean, I can't complain too much. On New Year's Day, I think it was, I went down to Ashley from Chip Build's place, worked on a lot of stuff. I've loaned her the A10M temporarily so she can get some time in playing around with it because she was curious about it. And we've kind of come up with a unique solution to the mixing problem because we like the fact that it has the two extruders. I don't like the fact that it has the mixing head, though, because the filament that's sitting in the idle side over time will start to get somewhat liquidous. And if you're just doing a single color print over a couple of hours and then you got to put something else in there, it becomes a problem. So the idea I had was, let's take an A10 head, pop it on there because the wiring is all the same, and then just put a splitter in there and then just write a custom script for when it changes filament. So it just pulls the other guy out and pops a new guy in. So we'll see about that, but I still want to play around with it as the A10M a little bit more, but the more that I play with it, the more I'm going, yeah, I think it would actually be better if it was just a single extruder machine that you could switch things out. Because the dual colors is really cool if you want to blend custom filaments, like say, mix some glitter filament in with a color that does not have glitter and vary the proportions. I mean, you can do cool things like that, but in all practicality, the A10 is just a better machine personally. Although I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying the A10M is bad. It's just, it's not what I was hoping it would be, but I think with the modification, it would be doable.
The A10, honestly, is for the money is probably one of the best printers on the market.
I mean,
down.
it is rock solid.
The A10M, I agree with you. It's more of a niche type market for that one because, quite honestly, how many times do we print in 2 colors? How many times do we print in 3 colors even?
Well, I mean, a good example would be a sign that I made for White Tigris 18 for an upcoming video where I did use 2 colors and I did use the color swap. But the reality is you could have very well done that. I'm going to explain how to do it on a dual color and a single color machine. You could have very easily told your slicer to stop at a certain point, change the colors out and do it. The only nice thing was the fact that I could just tell it to print both at once. And then I came back from school and, oh my gosh, there's the print there.
Yeah. And then honestly, it does have its place. And like you said, for a sign or maker coins or something like that, it's got a really good place that way. But print quality straight up for printing, for the size and for the price and everything, the A10 is actually one of the best deals. Even Chuck Hillebuck, did you see his latest video where he's comparing the Ender, was it Ender 3 and the G-Tech A10? And he's like, well, honestly, this has got everything already on it.
Wait, who did that video?
Chuck Hillebuck. The last video he put up, he was talking about the differences between the two, and he was really impressed with the A10.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one. Having played with your A10 and having the A10M myself, I do have to agree. The A10 is it's a rock solid platform. I tell people the 10M is cool, but the reality is, I mean, the mixing, it's not really something that it's like, I can tell though, for somebody who really wants to, do some funky stuff with blending colors and whatnot, that's all well and great. That's what it's intended for, but it was never designed to be a print one color and then print the other color and print one color and print the other color.
Right.
The other idea that Ashley and I had was if you're doing a model that required a crap ton of filament and support, if you were clever and you knew that you had 2 1 kilo spools, what you could do is you could print to within about, say, 250 grams of where that one spool is going to run out. So you had a safety margin, and then you could just tell it to bring in another spool and keep printing. There'd be a good example of a dual extrusion with a single nozzle machine, being that you could swap filaments out during a print if your spools were not big enough. But I still think that's better where you have the Y splitter where they're both kept out of the hot end. Because the other thing I've wanted to do with it is do train prints with dual extrusion, but the problem is I've still been having issues with the support material working its way into the filament and just creating prints that were just too brittle. I mean, you could just literally take the layers and go and peel them apart like that. And I'm like, I can't, if I'm removing the support material and it's breaking the print, it's crap. I can't use it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just single print color prints to me, just for the most part, or seem like the most useful. Like I said, there's situations where the dual, but one thing I do wish that they hadn't changed on the G-Tech A10, the original version, is they changed the hot end. Now mine, when it came, it was the first generation. It came with the bed that had the double-sided tape or whatever, so it's glued down to the heated bed. So you have your super plate glued down. It's got a E3D clone hot end on it, which means you can go and you can buy an MK8 nozzle off of Amazon, and it fits it perfectly fine. And now they've went to their square-looking rectangle heat block setup. And from what I'm understanding, it's a 5 millimeter thread.
I know the A10M is a 7 millimeter nozzle, which is another thing that's annoying about it is they didn't use a standard nozzle size. So I can't just run to Micro Swiss and go, hey, can I get an M6 or an M8 threaded hot end?
Here's what I'd like to propose. It's got to be a standard thread on a like an MK8 nozzle or something like that. Find out whatever that size, the M6 and whatever the pitch is, a 1.5 or whatever, and take a tap, drill and tap about halfway through that heat block. I'll bet you could do it.
Yeah, I mean, it would be totally doable. I mean,
Or
quite
better yet,
honestly,
just buy. My whole thing is then you're dealing with the threads coming off of the original, the heat break. I don't know what size threads that would be. Probably whatever same size as their nozzle. But that's the one thing. Just it kind of reason why I know about it is because Josh, a friend of mine here at work, he ended up getting an A10 and I went over and helped him set up. In fact, I have a video on it, but everything's kind of like I don't know whether I want to do it or not. We joke around a lot more than what me and you do. Well, he's Canadian, so you know I gotta go there.
you need to go oot there and talk about that.
He'll kick you in the nuts, man. He'll kick you in the nuts. I guarantee it.
TV probably sitting there like, what nutcases,
I
eh?
have to make sure I protect myself when I say anything that way.
No,
he's
I mean,
the one that designed that. I don't know if you saw that post. The pictures I sent the other day of the two mini figurines, and then the little like a raft. He designed that raft in Tinkercad. I mean, this guy's just like he can do all kinds of stuff with Tinkercad, and he's just started in the thing, and maybe a month ago, he got started into messing around with it. Doing a great job.
I think I just posted a link to it. Seriously, the stuff this guy is doing is crazy cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk him into doing a YouTube channel. Trying my best to, because he does a lot of painting too. He does he hasn't finished one of the models yet that I know of, but he's getting to that point.
I mean, if anything, he could always just do it like a little music video thing where he just has a quick time lapse of it printing, him finishing it, and him showing the final stuff with music in the background. And quite honestly, he'd probably get a zillion views for that because he's doing stuff for which game is it?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, if he's doing it for D&D, people are instantly going to be flocking to it to begin with. Then if he's showing, just a quickie of the process, people would probably be going even more nuts.
Yeah. So, when are you heading back up this way?
Beginning of the 3rd week of January.
Cool.
Not unless I can't get this stupid form bot running, then I will be going up much earlier temporarily so I can print things on your machine and get them done because I really need to get that going because I've dumped way too much time, blood, sweat, and tears into the thing. Like I say, it's getting closer. It's just I'm definitely learning everything the hard way when it comes to this, but I'm definitely doing a video about it to kind of call out certain things that I feel like could be better addressed in the community, and I'm not sitting here trying to bash Marlin, but it kind of feels like the problem with it is there's not enough documentation geared towards beginners. And I really wish they just had an online configuration thing where it said, what style of machine do you want? And then it pretty much just dumps out a basic code set that's more than good enough to get you started. The presets might not be perfect, but you can always go back and tune it. Like teaches you how to do PID tuning later on if it becomes an issue. But the main problem is it's like you pretty much have to have a degree in coding to even start on it. And it's like, oh, it's frustrating to say the least.
Just put the M, just do a A10 or A10M firmware, download that to it, put that on there, and then all you have to do is adjust the bed size in the software.
Well, what I did is I actually downloaded from G-Tech the actual firmware for the 2560 Rev A Plus, which is what I have. And then I've gone in there and I've adjusted the bed size and I've adjusted it to be 2 extruders, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm getting there. It's more or less the other issue then becomes the wiring of it. And then are your switches normally open or normally closed? Are you homing minimum or maximum? Which port and pin is it hooked up to? Then you really, it's more when you get into the nitty gritty details of setting up your LCD screen. Do you need an external thing to run it? Which was a whole nightmare in and of itself. I just finally gave up and found one of those. I had a big LCD screen I was hoping to use, but I ended up just going with the small one. I'm like, what difference does it make? All I need to do is just say start print and check my temperatures, and that's it. I don't need anything fancy. So, I mean, at this point, I'm just pretty much trying to get the thing going, but no, it's been a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. But I mean, I'm learning a lot in the process, but I'm not exactly happy with it either. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, true. Wait till you see what I've got here on my desk.
Me want to see.
Yeah, this I'm actually starting to get really attached to this printer at the moment. I got to tighten up the belt for the bed though, because it's a little bit loose. I see a lot of flop in it, but so far so good. Yeah, but you can't even hear it, can you?
Nope, it's probably partly the microphone and partly it's just a quiet machine as well.
Yeah. Or you remember the TiVo Flash? How quiet?
I remember it because it was really quiet, but it also liked to skip layers, and near the end, it was giving us those really bad-looking prints.
Well, this one is it's that quiet, but it's a whole different setup to it.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's got some really white extrusions on it. The only thing I don't understand is the ribbon cables. I don't understand why they used ribbon cables.
Honestly, I've heard ribbon cables can actually have a longer life than a regular cable can
Really?
in certain applications. Yeah, because they're designed because the wire is much thinner. So I think there's an actual reason why it is that way.
Cool.
Yep.
So what all was this that you were texting or sent me a message about something was being said by a YouTuber concerning a company? What was that all about?
Was it our Australian buddy?
Yeah, what's going on?
So correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but pretty much what happened was in one of Angus's videos, he was comparing the Ender 3 to the Ender 3, quote, Pro, and I'm putting that in quotes. And let's just say that he pretty much went in there and pretty much called Creality out on the fact that the Pro pretty much has nothing extra on it that really makes it that great. And pretty much is like, look, guys, stop trying to just constantly relabel your stuff actually and try and come out with like 50,000 new machines. Actually go in there and try and fix what you have and put out a couple of good machines like Ultimaker, how they have the 3, the 3 Plus, and the S5, as well as the 2 Plus and the 2 Plus Extended. But the point is, you know, they have their single extrusion and they have their dual extrusion machines. They're all sharing the same platform. It's just you change the firmware and you change the enclosure it's in, and you effectively have a totally different machine. But yeah, he pretty much just went in there and ripped them a new one on it. And I agree with Teresa. I'm glad he did too, because honestly, I hate to say it, but I'm sick and tired of people constantly 1 second complaining, oh, Creality this, oh, this company that, oh, this company the other, you know, and then 2 seconds later, everybody's buying their stuff. And, you know,
I honestly thought that this was already settled. I thought that we were already to the point where everybody had already tarred and feathered Creality and they were like a no-go company.
No, because at the end of the day, people can't resist a cheap machine when in reality, G-Tech makes a better version. Wah, wah. I just said that.
Well, they're all pretty much clones of each other.
Well, I'm talking in terms of the electronics and the build quality and things like that. It's like the thing that I love about the G-Tech machines is the super plate. You clean it with alcohol, and if you set your print height right, those prints, if they're PLA, they stay welded to there until it cools down, and you can literally flick it off with your finger. It's crazy.
So what's this? I saw somebody the other day was unboxing a Ender 5. Are they actually up to a 5 now?
I have no clue. I honestly try and keep out of that stuff as much as I can. But when I saw the video from Angus, I'm like, oh, this is going to be juicy.
Well, I heard about the Ender 3 and I heard about the Ender 3 Pro, but I must have missed the Ender 4 because the other day I saw somebody unbox a Ender 5.
Teresa's saying they missed a 4. And she goes, Creality have some weird cult going on. I agree. It's pretty scary. I mean, I'll be honest. Do I really like my Ultimaker? Yes. Do I like my G-Tech A10M? Yeah, there's things I like about it, but at the end of the day, there are problems with them, and that's what they are. But the problem is people just seem to be all like, oh, Creality can do absolutely nothing wrong. And it's just like, come on, guys, really? You just look at their track record, and it's just nothing but bad, 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 bad. The only ones that I can think of next to them that are that bad are ANET, because their machines like to catch on fire.
BV3D says that he likes his Ender 3. I honestly, the Ender 3 that we saw up there at Rockman Mini Maker Fair did some really nice prints. And we looked over at the Prusa that was over in the corner, the prints it produced, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And then we looked at the prints that the Ender created. And for the price difference, I couldn't tell a print quality difference.
Well, the thing that I like about the those style, when I say those style, I'm talking the G-Tech and the Creality, the A10s and the Ender 3s and all of those, is the fact that they have that really, really rigid extruded aluminum frame versus this floppy piece of sheet metal that the Prusa has. And I'm going, no, even the Matter Hackers Pulse, I think, has a 4 or 5 millimeter hard anodized, which is really stiff, mil-spec 2 frame on it that's really, really stiff. And Prusa is still using like some stamped steel or something. And it's like, no.
And I just printed that out.
Wait, let me lock it on you. It's out of focus, but dude.
It's out of focus. I can't even tell. Yeah, it's out. Oh, there we go. Got a little bit of wisps on it. TK would be proud.
Dude, for being done on a non-resin machine, that is insanity.
That's 25% of that Dragon.
And you're not even running it with like a 0.3 or a 0.25 nozzle. That's just a straight up 0.4. So I can only imagine what it would look like with a really, really tiny nozzle.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really surprised. Especially since it doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't have a duct pointing the blower toward the print. And that's one of the first upgrades that needs to be done on this machine.
BV3D is asking, are you talking about the uprights on the MK3? Yeah, I'm talking all the uprights on the Prusa branded machines versus the Chinese import machines. So yeah, we'll put it that way. And I'm not saying that their frame design, it doesn't work. It's just I personally prefer a really rugged frame. I literally took that A10M, carried it out to my car, drove it on over 60 miles of bumpy roads down to Ashley's house, took it out of my car, plopped it on a table, plugged it in, and started printing. And I didn't even have to re-level the bed. I mean, that's how rugged the frame is, and that's how well it can keep its, when I say its shape in terms of not, you know what I mean.
Well, you've seen how I treat my printers around here. Pick them up by the top of the gantry and put it over on the shelf, pick it up by the top, put it back over here on the desk. And how many times do you see me do a bed level on it?
Almost never. I've seen Jimmy take the trash out and clean the bed more times than I have seen him ever re-level a machine.
Yep, they print.
They just print. I mean, honestly, that's the thing I love about my Ultimaker as well, is that almost fully enclosed design. I just pick the thing up, put it in the passenger seat of my car, ride shotgun to wherever it goes, pull it out, plug it in, print, put it back in the car, go home. It just works.
I ain't saying this to be rude or mean or nothing like that. Actually, I probably am. I'm in that mood. Well, one of the things that just grinds me to death when it comes to all these 3D printing forums and all that, they take a printer that's got 4 mounting points on the print bed. It's a very rigid machine, and the first thing they want to talk about is, I want to put a probe on it. And it's like, okay, to me, that's the equivalent of saying, I want to stick my finger in a light socket. Because we know from the flash over there, or where that thing's, the TiVo flash, right?
Correct.
You remember how many hours we spent trying to get that bed to level, right?
Actually, it wasn't so much getting the bed to level, it was getting the first layer height correct because it kept being too high. But yeah, effectively it was bed leveling. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
And honestly, how long would it took me to level the bed with a piece of paper?
We could have held our breath collectively in the time it took to do it.
If we would have held our breaths while we were trying to figure out that probe. And now, mind you, that's one that came with the probe. We're not talking about a printer that doesn't come with a probe, but you got to buy the probe, put the probe on it, then download a whole new firmware and adjust the firmware to accept the probe as the, yeah. Every time I see that, I just cringe. I'm like, why? Just put the piece of paper under the nozzle and tighten, loosen, do it on the four corners. That's what you gotta do, four corners. If it's got 3 mounting points, you do it in 3 mounting points over the 3 mounting points. All you gotta do is do it directly over the mounting points, and that levels your bed.
No, yeah. I mean, the one thing I will say is on, say, an IDEX machine where you have the 2 independent heads, I do agree that having an active probe on there is a good idea, because if you change a nozzle or something, things will, move by just enough to throw things out of whack. So on a machine like that, if you're going that complex, yeah, it makes total sense to have probes on each head. But I agree at the same time, it's just kind of like it look at how many people have problems with the Prusa and the inductive probe. Probes are a great idea in theory, but they just bring too much complexity into a machine where if you can't get the bed relatively level with a piece of paper on your typical size bed, you have a problem. Now, on, say, a large format printer, having a probe and running around and taking multiple points and leveling from there, that makes more sense because you might have actual undulations in the bed, but we're talking not your standard printer here,
Well, yeah. The thing is, when you're printing with either a glass plate or something that's a very heavy duty aluminum plate that's not going to warp, I don't see a reason for a bed probe. Now, on the other hand, if you're printing like on acrylic, something that's not guaranteed to be flat, I could kind of understand a bed probe. But otherwise, it's like, especially on these printers, anytime like this one here is what, 300 by 300 on the build plate. I just don't see a need for it.
Well, I mean, the one thing I will say is it just boils down to selling point. If you can, I mean, and I'm not knocking the BL Touch here. It's a very, 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 very cleverly designed.
I'm not knocking the BL Touch. What I'm knocking is the mindset of I have to have a BL Touch.
For sure. And the biggest
come to an end, and my printing days are over because I don't know how to level a bed.
I know it reaches. I mean, it's like, the BL Touch by itself is great, but the biggest issue is the firmware, and the firmware is always going to be the life or death of a machine. And yeah, what more can I say?
I mean, 99% of the posts I see on the GTech forum is people having a problem leveling their bed. 99% of the problem. And it stems from they don't know. First off, BL Touch is fine as long as you know how to adjust the BL Touch. Otherwise, if you don't have your offset set right, it's not going to work. The only way you're going to ever have your offset set right is if you level the bed first.
Yeah, no, and it's frustrating. I mean, I've been dinking around in Marlin for way too long, and they do talk about, you can activate mesh bed leveling and whatnot, and that's easy to do in the code, but the problem is actually getting everything set up right electronically can become its own living nightmare. And I'm having a hard enough time telling the machine end stops to begin with,
Yeah. True.
I like TK. This is just, I forget if he's Welsh or something, but people in the greater Great Britain area for you. He's like, never used one. I have one, but I never put it on the printer. He's like, too much faffing about. Learn to level manual. You can level any printer. Thank you. It's kind of like if you can drive a stick, if you can drive a manual car, you can drive anything.
That's the truth.
Nothing wrong with automatics. They're great. But if you know how to manually shift the car, you can get in any vehicle effectively and drive it. Yes, you might have, one where it's the dog leg setup where reverse is technically where first is because it's a 6-speed. You might have slightly funky things like that. But you know the concept of how to use a clutch and the gas and a stick shift to make the car move without stalling the engine.
Right.
Same thing with this. You understand the concept of how to manually level the bed because half the time the stupid thing requires you to manually level the bed before you go into the firmware to set your print height. I can't say how many times I've seen people complaining about they can't get their little Prusa inductive probe thingy to work on their machine, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, why is he even dumping this thing out with that?
Didn't he move away from the inductive deal and then he go to the type where it actually goes all the way to the end of whatever it is and the motors detect where the...
No, that was end stops. I'm talking the actual setting the nozzle height. I'm not talking homing. Because my Moai is really cool. It actually uses an optical brake beam on the Z-axis. So it's a non-contact. So it's very, very, very precise.
Yeah.
Wellbot saying that's exactly what my dad said. My sis and I couldn't get our licenses unless we got a manual. Well, outside the United States, most people have a manual. I was talking to my Norwegian shop teacher a few years ago, and he was saying that in Norway, most of the vehicles they sell are manuals. There are some people who will actually especially need an automatic because, say, they have a disability that does not allow them to easily do the shifting with an automatic. But he goes, and it's for all the lame tourists who can't drive a stick. He goes, other than that, they're all sticks.
Yeah. And in fact, I think any more automatic transmissions actually cost the same or less than manuals here. Used to, an automatic transmission cost you a minimum of $1,000 to $2,000 more. Now I think it's equal or less if you get a manual. I think the manuals cost more now than the automatics.
That's because nobody knows how to drive a stupid manual anymore. There's jokes on Facebook about like people with their Jeep having a cover for the rear tire with the stick shift symbol saying millennial anti-theft device. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, you didn't go there, did you? Oh, that's so bad.
Wellbot says he hates autos, so boring to drive. Oh, I'll have to show you what I got from, let's see if I can find it here without showing a tremendous amount of my information. I got a email today from Google. Let's see here. Probably not going to find it. Oh, there we go. Google Maps timeline. I didn't even know. I knew that they had this, okay? But I just never knew them to ever send an email. Yeah, here we go. It says that I've went the equivalent of 1.3 times around the world. I don't believe that. It says I've traveled 33,048 miles in a year. I guess that's for a year. It says I've walked for 7 hours, which I know I've walked way more than that, which was 18 miles. And I've traveled 29,280 miles another way. I'm guessing part of that being on a flight. Because I did take a flight this year. But I know this is messed up because they're saying I only went to Yosemite once. We all know that's a lie.
we looked at the history on your Twitter and saw that was a definite lie.
That was a lie. I went there way more than once.
I swear, how many times do you go there in 1 year? Because if White Tigress 18 comes on here, I need to have like bragging rights to say how many times you've been to Yosemite. She can hate you all the more.
I have probably been there 5 times this year.
Oh, she probably hates you so much right now.
Probably. That's all right.
It's okay. I think she couldn't stand Beth's roosters a little bit more than you going to Yosemite all the time. we're in the camper, and I'm like, oh, warning, there are roosters, and they do go off all the time. Oh, great.
How could it
Later
be?
that night, later that night, are they seriously going off? I'm like, oh, great. Enjoy the night. Good night. It's not the big trucks going by down the street like every 30 minutes all through the night. It's not the wind shaking the camper. It's not that it's freezing cold. No, it's best roosters.
Was it the wind shaking the camper?
It was the wind, I promise. Or was it you trying to like freak me
Is that
out
what
again?
they call it now? Is that what they call that now? The wind.
Remember that one time when we were going to go out and get food and you decided to like grab the camper and shake it with me inside there and practically gave me a heart attack?
He comes running out there, earthquake! It's like, you're in a motorhome, it's not going to hurt you.
I'm in there and all of a sudden the thing just starts like, I'm in there and it starts rocking a little bit. I'm like, okay, that's all. Oh my gosh. Okay. Motorhome's really rocking. Oh, what the? Oh, okay, great. That was so bad.
God, you're so white.
I know. Hey, I'm the kid who used to be scared to go on the earthquake simulator at the California Science Center, and now I go on the thing and I'm like, oh, that's boring. Next.
That's right. If the trailers are rocking, don't come a knocking.
Oh, I'm not even going there. Not even going there.
The walls are thin, so don't walk up to them and put your ear to it. Where all the sounds you hear are all on you.
Oh, jeez, no, this is bad.
Same noise from every one of those Chinese video cartoon porn things you ever hear. Oi, oi.
Oh god, this is going downhill so fast. Okay, let's just pretend that didn't happen. Moving on.
We're on your channel, aren't we?
There goes every hope of ever becoming monetized out the window. Thanks a
How
lot.
close are you?
I haven't even checked.
You got to be getting close.
I hope. Well, honestly, my year-end bloopers video didn't do that great, but I'm hoping the bottle opener one does decently.
I got a email yesterday, day before, from AOL/Yahoo Video. So that's going to be interesting to see what in the world they're coming up with.
So I used to be at like around 3,500, and now it just dropped down to 3,317. But I think it doesn't help that I haven't really put out any project videos yet, but I'm hoping that'll change soon because I got some stuff in the mail, and I got some collaborations I'm working on and just some general stuff as well. So we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those cases of also because it was around the holidays, I wasn't really expecting a whole lot of people to start watching videos. I pretty much had to scrap my Christmas videos series because I literally just ran out of time to work on that because I've been so busy dealing with Christmas projects and school finals and things like that. So I don't think that helped, but I'm hoping with some of the upcoming stuff, it'll help in that department. One sec, let me grab the bottle opener thing that I'm talking about so you guys can check it out.
That reminds me, I got to take this thing right here. I need to update the file a little bit and start printing those out because I have one gentleman that's wanting to purchase one, which surprised me because of all the things in the world that I've ever printed. I never thought I'd ever hear somebody say, oh, yeah, I could really use one of the Perfection heater wick cleaners.
Honestly, it's like you're changing the blower in the Nissan video. You didn't think that was going to go anywhere, and all of a sudden, just boom.
My second most popular video ever is changing a blower motor on my Nissan. But what the twist on that one was, the owners or all the shop manuals for the Nissan Sentra say that you have to remove the dashboard in order to change out the blower motor, which is a 5-hour job. The dealership will charge you between $1,100 to $1,200 to replace your blower motor. because of the labor. For a $75 to $100 part, it's going to cost you that much money. And I was going through all these different forums trying to figure out there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be an easier way. I found one little note from one person on one forum that said, you know, you guys don't really need to do that. You can just remove the brake pedal and the brake and gas pedal assembly and go in from the driver's side floorboard and get to it. And everybody's like, no, that's not what the manual says. And I'm like, well, wait a minute here. If the guy said that, he must know what he's talking about. Because usually somebody that says like that, they just say it and then they go on their way because everybody starts talking smack about them and they just kind of, okay, well, believe whatever you want. So I'm like, I'm going to check that out. So I went and that's what started that whole thing up. I'm getting in there and I'm starting to check out. I'm like, this guy's onto something. So that's why I went ahead and started filming that video with my cell phone.
It would be amazing how many people brought that to their mechanic and were like,
One
I mean,
day,
honestly though,
after I posted that video, there was a guy in Florida, some kind of an automotive outfit, that did 2 videos outlining the exact same thing that I did in my video. He did this the day after. He's like, this is what you get. This is what you get whenever you come to the name of the company, Automotive. This is where you come and we find all kind of innovative ways of taking care of our customers. And this is the way, you know, they can be done without having to take the dashboard out. And I'm looking at the video and you can see where he already started to take the dashboard apart. He came to that point where he's like, God, there's got to be another way. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, look, here's a YouTube video. I just get a kick out of it. I was laughing. It's like, yeah, I know where you saw that.
I'm checking out TK's. Oh, wait, never mind. I was going to talk about this thing that I ran off set to get. Sorry, scatterbrain right now. So this is what I was talking about. This literally started out as a Christmas present idea that my sister wanted. This one's not been completed, so ignore the epoxy spill out, but it's a custom walnut and brass bottle opener. So this is what it looks like before it's done. This is what it looks like after I apply some special wood finish. Check it out.
Wow.
Yeah. So the clever thing is you can see it better on this guy because it's darker. I've designed it so that the fulcrum for and the latch for when you're opening the bottle, the wood is recessed, so that way you're not going to damage the wood when you're opening an item. It's only the brass that's getting touched, and then it has the nice little ribbing on there to give you really nice tactile grip on it without being overly gaudy or anything like that. It turned out really good. So the plan is I'm going to make, I believe, like probably about 5 of these, very limited run, and put them up on my Etsy. And I might hold a giveaway in the video. I might, because I've got more material and more to make them. So I'm thinking about actually making one more to give away in the video, but we'll see.
Ribbed for your pleasure.
Oh my gosh, you guys suck.
Teresa says ribbed for her pleasure.
Okay, keep it clean there, guys.
Now, what kind of bottle opener is that? For what kind of bottle?
Any kind of bottle. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care if it's a 21 or older bottle. I just hope that you're old enough to legally consume the contents inside. If it's a 21 and under drink, well, who gives a crap? But it's based off those really stubby bottle openers that I made a long time ago, which they worked, but the main problem was they were just too tiny. So you could open a bottle with them, but it was a little bit annoying.
Well, anything that's ribbed must be a little bit larger, right?
You're now reaching the Facebook part of the show. Oh, I have a question. Does AMZ 3D make any of that marble PLA?
No, they do not. At least not that I know of. The one that I had was from Zero 3D, I believe.
Okay, because Ashley got her parents were nice enough to get her, I believe it's that Maker Box thing for a couple of months as a Christmas gift. And one of the samples in there, I guess, it was like Joel's curated box. So I guess it had a bunch of extra goodies inside. And one of the samples it had was actually the Marble PLA. And she was curious about it. So I was going to ask you which brand that you used, because I know we like AMZ, but I'll let her know about the Zero then.
Yeah, I believe it was Zero. I found it on Amazon, and it was real. It actually was pretty good. The only thing is you got to be sure to use a 4mm nozzle. You don't want to go to a smaller nozzle, otherwise you will get clogs.
Right. Yeah, because I found the Zero stuff. It's $22 for a kilo, which actually is not that bad of a price.
Anytime you find a kilo that cheap.
Well, I told her about
Step on a little bit, make some money, man.
I told her about all of TK's really cool gargoyle and other models, and she's like, "Oh, I'd love to print those in Marble PLA." I'm like, "Jimmy did that, and they turned out really good." So yeah, I was going to send her the link to that.
Yeah, in fact, I did that with TK's Dragon. Remember?
Yeah, is that one up on Thingiverse? I'm not seeing it.
What, the dragon?
I've seen the Oriental one.
Yeah, his dragon's on Thingiverse.
What about his gargoyle ones?
He's actually got quite a few on there.
Okay, duh, they're on there. I just didn't scroll down far enough. He has way too much cool stuff. Oh my gosh. This guy is awesome. You guys seriously need to check his stuff out. He has got a ton of cool stuff.
Yeah, he does. Let's see. Yeah, it's been a long day, man. I thought I was getting over this flu, and now I'm starting to get it back. It's been stinking cold as it can be. I think this morning was warmer. I think it was 35 this morning. Yesterday was 32 degrees. So, yeah.
I mean, currently right now where I'm at, it's 45 degrees right now, and the low is supposed to be like 41.
Down there?
Yeah, it's been absolutely freezing. I was over at Ashley's place down in LA, and we're like, oh, it'll warm up today. And it was just freezing the whole day. It was miserable. I mean, it was so cold. We were working with epoxy. Even 5-minute epoxy was not setting. We had to actually heat it up with a heat gun to get it to finally start to cure. And I'm like, okay, that's how you know it's really cold, when even 5-minute epoxy won't set without external heat.
Man.
But no, I mean, I thought it was going to be, I was like, oh, I'm going to Southern California, it won't be that bad. And I get down here and it's like probably colder than the Bay Area, or just as cold.
Yeah, I think it's actually been colder up here.
Yeah, well, I know your place gets a lot colder than it does out in the up in the Bay Area, because we have all the water, but still, I mean, it's been cold as heck.
They're calling for a storm coming in this Saturday. They're expecting 60-mile-an-hour winds over the hills, and about 40 mile an hour down in the valleys.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fun one.
Oh, geez, this is not going to be fun. Well, hopefully by then I'll have the Formbot running. Oh, what were you going to say?
I said that'll be good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, do you guys want me to tell you about how good and or bad the $400 laser cutter that we bought is?
Yeah, what's up with the laser cutter? Trying to put somebody out of business, I hear?
Okay, that's a whole nother story. I'll explain to you after the chat. After the show, it's more or less just to annoy somebody who totally deserves it. But no, the thing is, Ashley from Chip Builds has been able to play with a friend's laser Glowforge. I guess the way it worked is she was doing like design work for him for free in exchange for being able to play with it, which is honestly a very nice deal. So what we decided though is she had seen those about $400 laser cutters, give or take a few bucks, that you can find all over eBay, like literally everywhere, all over eBay. Like everybody's selling the exact same thing with maybe just a different ugly paint job, and that's it. So for the longest time, I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool, but I really don't have the space for one, blah, 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 blah. And then finally we were like, you know what? It's so cheap. I'm like, I'd be willing to, go 50-50 on the machine. And then, because she's going to be storing it, I'm like, and then just as, we're using the machine, you can just deduct, like we came up with the very simple rate of $1 a minute for cutting. I'm like, you can just deduct, $1 per minute of cutting from the machine. And then we can come up with a little, rate for the setup and whatnot. So that way, when my rate runs out, I'll be more than happy to pay her. But, so that way we could get the machine in quicker because she really wanted to have a laser cutter on hand because she used one a lot for Christmas gifts. And when we figured out the $400 one was actually pretty nice, we ordered it, actually had it sent to my house because we knew we had to set up a water cooling system for the laser tube. But I thought I was going to have to go in there and plumb something in and everything like that. No, it turns out of the box, the machine came with a little garden pump, and all you have to do is just like stick the pump in a bucket of water, plug one of the ends into the hose, and then you're done. And I'm like, well, that was hard. So at the moment, we literally just have a 5-gallon orange Home Depot bucket with about 3 gallons of distilled water in there that we're just cycling water through. Eventually, I want to get 1 or 2 radiators for like a PC water cooling setup with some big fans. I know it's not going to actively cool the water, but I figure if we can get as much heat out of the water before it goes into the bucket, we can keep the bucket's temperature pretty well regulated. And then if we decide to come up with some kind of chilling unit, at least we're getting as much heat out of the water before it goes back into the bucket, so we don't rise the temperature of the water in there very quickly. Because I have heard that depending upon how intense you're cutting, you can actually heat up a couple of gallons of water fast enough that you have to stop working for a while. So we're figuring that out. Right now, though, we are not pushing the laser past, I think, maybe even a quarter of its cutting capacity. And we're still getting really good results because we're waiting for a special nozzle that blows air right at the cutting site to help prevent flare-ups and gunk getting on things. But I have to say, though, for $400 plus maybe an extra $100 in extras, you're about $500 in. You don't have, say, all the nice features of, you don't have every single feature that, say, maybe a Muse or a Full Spectrum or even a Glowforge has. But quite honestly, for about $400 shipped to your door, it's actually a pretty capable machine. And then we found some really nice software called K40 Whisperer, which is designed to work with those machines. That's really nice because it takes the artwork and it starts out with the machine homed. And then as you move the artwork, it actually moves the head in real time. So you can very quickly go, okay, this looks like it's good. And you can start working. So yeah.
The hose for that one for the cooling.
I think it's about 1/4-inch ID.
Okay. So it's pretty small then.
It's pretty small. The pump they include is pretty low flow. So what I'm thinking I might look into is getting a higher flow pump. For right now, we're pretty much just, I'm going to be cutting barely, mostly like 16-inch plywood. So you have to crank the laser power way, way, way low.
Yeah.
To not totally just like light the wood on fire. So I'm not too worried about heat buildup at this point, but sometime in the future, I definitely want to get a better pump. I'm going to be loaning out my airbrush compressor that I'm not using for the air assist. And I'm looking into getting a better fan to just suck all the smoke out of there. I'm actually looking at seeing if I can borrow back from a friend that giant weed grow fan that I had. And if she doesn't have easy access to it, it's only like 40 or $50 to get a new one. But honestly, the only things that I don't like about it are the fan that it includes is pretty much rubbish for hauling out the smoke that's in there. We're doing like a little bit of cutting and inside there starting to get like filled up. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. And the other thing that I don't like is the plastic hose that came with was a total joke. So, oh well, in that department. And the pump they includes a little bit iffy in terms of the flow, but and the other thing they don't include is they don't have a nozzle pre-set up to do the air assist. I'm not saying they include a air tank bubbler or anything like that. They just at least have the nozzle in there because you can run it without air assist. I'd be much happier to pay a couple bucks extra, or even just pay the same rate if they toss the crappy hose and they just include the air assist nozzle. But otherwise, honestly, for under $500, I'm actually really impressed with what the machine can do. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm based off what a lot of people have said. I mean, it's like if you want a good entry level machine and you're willing to do a little bit of tinkering, it's actually not a bad price.
Yeah. That's cool. So can you do engraving with that one too?
Oh yeah, you can do engraving. You can do a lot of different stuff. Yeah, Ron, I have seen those Peltier cooler things. They are cool, but the main problem with them is they're just not very efficient.
Go with the heater core.
Heater core?
Yeah. You know, for inside of a car.
Uh-huh.
You ever seen one of those?
No.
It's a little mini radiator is all it is.
That is a thought.
Only thing is, I think it uses what, 5/8 hose though. So you're right. Probably the PC cooling radiators would probably be best.
Yeah, and quite honestly, we don't need anything that fancy. I'm not expecting it to, you know, get all the heat out. The main idea is I'm just trying to reduce the heat load in the water before it goes into any kind of chilling setup and bring it down some. One idea that we did have was to use like those blue ice things that you can freeze in a freezer.
Yeah.
Freeze a couple of those if we were doing a lot of heavy cutting, just get a whole bunch of those and freeze them and then just put them into the water as necessary to keep the temperature down. Because one of the things that I want to do is set up a little thermometer for the water. So we do know if the water is reaching a dangerous, is starting to get hotter than it should, then we can back off what we're doing. The other thing that I'm setting up with the little control panel is a simple rocker switch setup for the air assist and the water pump. I was able to get for like $1.25 a piece. It was really cheap. Some little light up switches at an electronic surplus store. Should have grabbed more. I grabbed 2 at the moment, but it's like, so that way we know if the pump is on and we'll hear if the air assist is on. But the idea is we'll hear if the pump is on because the pump's so quiet. You forget if the pump is running or not. You can see, oh, is the pump lit up? Is the air assist lit up? Let's cut. You can shut things off as necessary. So yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So the idea is if we're going to put the effort into this thing, I want to try and make it as pretty much like if we need to move it from her place to my place because I'm down for the summer and she's not able to use it, you know, I want to make it as simple to plop in my car and take where we need it as possible. So we'll see how it goes, but so far I'm pretty impressed. So I'm already kind of drawing up some model train stuff I've wanted to laser cut for a long time, but the problem is to get it done professionally. I can understand why it costs a good amount of money, but I don't need professional quality cuts here. I just need something that could even just make score lines that I can come along with an X-Acto knife and cut through, because I'm just making the core of a building from the thin plywood, and I'm going to actually come along with individual strips of wood to make it look like a little, you know, shed that was put together with strip wood. And I might actually offer them for a couple of bucks for sale on the Model Train Group page and be like, you supply your own wood, but I'm supplying you with the core. And then you can go from there. It's kind of like a little, almost as like a mock-up building in a way as well.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So we'll see about that. But the main thing is I just want to get the thing running before and working well before I go back up north. So that way, in case I need anything cut, I can just send it down to Ashley and she can just mail it up to me so I can kind of circumvent the school and their very limited resources is kind of the goal as well.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see about that, but I'm definitely going to be doing a video series on those. I've got some videos planned for the A10M. I just need to find the time because I've been trying to get other things that have been backlogged forever done. So we'll see about that.
I'm serious. You need to do the video on how to do the E-steps and everything with A10.
Oh, I definitely am. And I'm also going to do more trivial stuff like...
You need to do it sooner than later, though, because you got to remember, you got a lot of people gone for Christmas. Now's the time to do it.
For sure. Well, the other thing that I'm going to do is it's a little more trivial and a little more for giggles and grins. The like changing the name at the bottom of the machine so that way it doesn't just say the A10M is ready. It can say like Wally or my printer or whatever, you know, just little things like that on top of how to change the E-steps and things like that, you know.
Yeah. Cool.
But the other thing I will say that was incredible about the laser cutter was normally when things say that they're US based, they're really not. And then they come about a week and a half later. This thing literally came from the heart of LA and got dropped off to my place within like 3 days. And this was right around New Year's at that. And I'm like, what the heck? That was crazy. So
Hey, Paul, how
I
you
also
doing?
give them credit for that as well.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
but yeah, I'm definitely, I need to get working on the A10M videos shortly because I know I'm kind of behind on that, but quite honestly, I just haven't had much time.
Yeah, I know. I definitely know that feeling.
For shizzle.
What shizzle my nizzle?
So did you watch the new Mythbusters Junior that came out?
Nuh-uh. Where's it at?
Science Channel.
Yeah, I don't watch Science Channel.
You sad human being.
I just watch Discovery Go.
You might be able to get it on the Science Go app.
Hmm.
But no, I have to say, I won't spoil it, but I will say, knowing two of the kids in the show and having met them at Maker Faire, it was actually pretty well done. The only complaint that I have with the show is, mind you, it's the first episode, so kind of, you know, it could just be teething pains on the first show because they're also introducing everybody and everything like that. But the one complaint that I did have,
yes, Teresa says, "Shh, don't ruin it for those of us that don't have it."
I'm not gonna give any spoilers. I'm just saying the one thing that I will say is you do remember though from the original show how usually it was like they had the two main myths and then they would kind of like show the progression of it.
Yeah.
For this show, I kind of wish they actually just focused on one myth per episode so that I actually have more time to go into detail on it. But still, it was a very well done show overall, and it's definitely nice to see shows that are geared more towards a younger audience to hopefully try and get them interested in science and things like that. So, you know, we'll leave it at that, Teresa. Don't worry, I'm not going to give it all away.
Shut your pie hole, Calvin.
I had to approve that because it was in all caps. It's like approve or decline. I'm like, yeah, I'll approve it. But no, believe me, guys, if you can go and watch it, go and watch it. It's actually pretty cool. We'll put it that way. So, yeah.
Recently, I've been watching a lot of Gas Monkey Garage. I watched the American Choppers. I've been watching that and watched it all the way through all the seasons. Now I'm on the run of Gas Monkey Garage, the Fast and Loud.
Uh-huh.
Between that and watching, what's his name? Louis Rosman. RosmanGroup.com.
Get this flex from Rosman Group, store.rosmangroup.com. Okay, so now we're going to heat up this poor looking chip right here. And wow, this person really just did horrible things to this, you know, PC board over here at Geek Squad. Oh my gosh, who the heck do they think they are? Oh, thank you for the $3, sir. That will go towards my coffee fund.
That guy's hilarious.
He can get a little bit annoying after a while, but it is interesting to watch him because I like it because he will just pretty much go in there and just tell it like it is. He doesn't care who he's.
Teresa knows who he is. Their little MacBook. Who raped you? Who raped you, MacBook? That's all right. We'll make you all better.
It is so wrong.
We're going to make you a happy MacBook. I get a kick out of that guy. He is hilarious.
TK is saying old Top Gear with the lads. Yes, 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 and yes. Oh my gosh. I loved the old Top Gear. That was so good. I do have to say though, I really, really, really would love to meet all three of them in person, quite honestly.
Paul, if you ever need your MacBook worked on, Send it to rosmangroup.com.
The funny thing is, though,
honestly, if I had a MacBook and he worked on it, he's the one I'd send it to, because that guy knows what he's doing.
Honestly, here's the crazy thing. The CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, they actually did a piece on Apple and their iffy, shady, at best, potentially illegal out there in Canada, repair practices. And they actually drove across the border with one of their researchers actually had an issue with their MacBook, and they were like, "Oh, perfect timing." So she took it into the store, and they go, "Oh yeah, we can't really fix this thing. It'll be like a $3,000 repair. You just might as well just buy a new MacBook." So then like the guy who was doing the piece, he drives across the border to go see Lewis, and Lewis takes one look at the thing, and goes, "Oh yeah, I know what that problem is." Puts the pin back in and done. And the guy goes, "So how much did you charge for this?" He goes, "Honestly, if we were just going to do this, we just do it for free. If we were to change the cable, maybe $25 at most. If we just have one lying around, we might just, do it while they wait and say, here, have a nice day." It depends upon what it is. But what he was trying to say was, this is not a $3,000 repair for a 50-cent cable. Right. It's that mentality of, Apple trying to claim to be all green and eco, and then they just pretty much take everything and trash it. And it's like, no, that is not the way you do it. You try and fix the stuff and you try and keep it going, because 9 times out of 10, 95% of what's in there is probably still usable to some extent. But why toss the whole thing if the spark plugs die in the engine?
Are you wanting me to start on my rant about Apple?
No, because you were already ranting about it earlier.
Okay. It's no secret. I hate Apple. I've always hated Apple. And it's not because I'm a fanboy of anything. It's because I just hate Apple. I spent the majority of my school days messing around with Apple IIe computers. Now, mind you, Apple IIe computers came into being when I was in, 6th grade? Okay. It was the Apple IIe PC or computer, what do you call it, stinking thing. And that thing haunted me all the way through high school. Now, what computer today do you know of would last 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade? 7 years. What computer do you know of whose lifespan is 7 years? None.
Some old computer my dad has lying around.
How about a computer that costs so much you can't afford to replace it? That's the Apple IIe computer. They tricked these schools into spending over $5,000 per computer, making computer rooms full of these things, and to try to justify the cost, locked those kids into working on archaic machines that when you got out of school, you didn't know what in the world you're getting into. Because when you get out of school, guess what? Every computer at that time was PC. They were running Windows 3.1 at the time. Back when they came on the 3.5-inch floppy disks, that was Windows 3.1, and it came on PCs. While we were still using 5.25-inch floppy disks, running DOS and programming in BASIC on Apple IIe computers when we were in high school. Yeah.
That's pretty sad.
I mean, think about it. You take when I was in high school, I think the computer room, there's 2 computer rooms. There was the computer lab, then there was the word processing, basic programming, which I was a teacher's aide inside that room for 3 years. I mean, I was around all the time. And my God, man, we had probably 25, 30 of those computers inside there, and $5,000 a pop. That's a lot of money. And I bet you at that time you could have got an IBM PC for probably $2,500.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you actually hear the history of Apple computers from Steve Wozniak, because he's going to tell you a little bit differently than Steve Jobs. Back in the day, there was this thing called phone phreaking, which is not what it sounds like. It's where people would actually learn all the dial tones, because old phones used dual tone multi-frequency to act as the switching network. So people figured out initially that they could actually whistle. Some people actually could whistle the tones correctly in the right order to actually like pretty much do the early version of hacking. Not for like data theft or anything, but just for the fun of it. Yeah, Robbie, Captain Crunch, aka what's his name? Mark Draper. And what happened is it was that started the whole homebrew computer club. And I remember Steve Wozniak saying, yeah, I was going to get an Altair 64 computer or something like that. And his dad goes, well, it costs as much as a house. And he goes, well, fine, I'll live in an apartment. Like he was that gung-ho about getting a computer and getting into it. And then it kind of just evolved. And then the crazy thing was he pretty much started just to like make a few computers in their bedroom in their spare time and, selling them from people to people. And then all of a sudden they got an order in for like 50 units from a school. And that's when he goes, honestly, that's when it went from this is a hobby to, oh my gosh, this is an actual business thing. Because Steve Jobs was more the business side. Steve Wozniak was more I'm just doing this for fun. And if we make a couple of bucks to cover our time and expenses and whatnot, congratulations. I like his line though. It's like, people don't ask you like what you do to, he's like, people don't ask you what you do with your model train set. You play with it. You have fun with it. That's what you do with it. He goes, that's the mentality we had starting out with Apple computers, was we were just doing it for fun. And then it kind of just evolved from there. It was really interesting. I'll see if I can dig up the video.
Yeah, anyway, that's my love to hate Apple deal. Then when they started coming out with the iPhone, it's like, why do I want that? I start paying attention to at first it's like, okay, well maybe, and then I'm starting to look at the thing, it's like, that makes no sense. And then whenever I got my first Samsung phone, I knew somebody had an Apple phone. I'm like, okay, so the person said something about I have to delete a picture so I can take one. I'm like, what do you mean you have to delete a picture so you can take one? Don't you have a memory card? Just put a larger memory card? And they're like, no, we don't use memory cards. What do you mean? Well, it's 32 gigabyte or whatever it was at the time. And they pretty much, you had to either download your pictures to your PC or to your Mac or whatever, because at that time they hadn't come up with a cloud just yet, or delete the pictures that you don't want and take another picture. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's why when Samsung came out with the S6, that was stupid. I realized that they want to be so much like Apple, but it's like, don't be like Apple. Don't do the stupid stuff like they got. My goodness.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I'll be honest, when I initially got my old iPhone 4, the true story behind that was I'd woke up that morning years ago and I was going to fly out to Florida and see some friends that I knew out there. And literally that morning, my old, I forget what phone it was. It was one of those phones that you flipped open, had a full keyboard inside. Literally that morning, it just up and dies, only would boot for like 2 or 3 minutes, if that, and pretty much just crapped out that morning. Thank God it didn't crap out when I was out there. But this is back when Android phones were like not that great. So I ended up getting an iPhone, but I used that thing until literally it worked no more. I mean, I'm talking, it got so slow, you couldn't use the stupid thing anymore. So yeah, it was a decent phone. It was my first foray into those phones, but now I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 8 here, I believe it is. Note 8 S8 Active, I think it is actually. I do have to agree, though. Samsung phones are a lot better because they're easier to work with. I can plug it into my computer and pull photos right off of it. If I want to do that with my iPhone, I had to go through iTunes and iCloud, and that was just like a nightmare. So yeah.
So Robbie's talking about 8-inch floppies. Do you remember cassette tapes?
I remember cassette tapes. Oh my gosh.
The very first computer I ever had was a Tandy TRS-80 Color Computer 2. And the way you saved any basic programming you did, which I remember writing a program for Turkey in the Straw, came in PC Magazine back in the day. They actually had a page for basic programming where you 10 go to this, 20 go to that, and you do all this different coding into it. And then if you wanted to save it, you had this Tandy tape recorder that you put the cassette tape in. You'd hit the play and the record button at the same time, and then you hit save, and then it would take and record the computer tones. You remember the AOL? Kind of that, except a whole lot slower.
So we have White Tigers 18 in here. This is going to get fun. Care to tell her how many times you've been to Yosemite this year, Jimmy?
What's that?
Care to tell how many times you've been to Yosemite this year?
At least 5 times.
Well, show off.
You guys want to go?
Shoot, I'm always down.
Can't go this weekend, but maybe next weekend.
I think next weekend we're falling out of a perfectly good airplane.
Are you? Why in the world would you do that?
It's all her idea initially. No, I've always wanted to go skydiving just to say that I've done it. So yeah. I'm going to see, though, if I can sweet talk the people there into letting us take up the stripped down version of the camera rig. So it's not going to have the monitor or anything like that on it. But I'm going to see if they'll let us take that up there, at least in the airplane, to film that much. And maybe take it during the jump. So I'll see if I can't sweet talk them into that and give them a shout out and blah, 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 blah. But we'll see about that. But that'd be really fun to show it.
Cloud, huh?
What?
You're going to pull your YouTube cloud on them, huh?
Honestly, I look at it this way. It doesn't hurt to politely ask, because sometimes places are like, yeah, you know what? We'll make an exception for you. Because I'll be perfectly honest with them. I'm like, perfectly fine if you guys, out of policy or whatever, can't do that. But if you do, I will gladly, mention you guys in the video and say you guys made a special exception for this. Because the whole point is I want to show the crazy uses that we can come up with it. I mean, we've used it in the ocean. We've used it at Maker Faire. Why not try using it skydiving if they'll allow us?
Are you going to use a chest harness and put your GoPro on it?
No, it's going to be the handheld one, the dual one, because it's a tandem jump.
Do that. They'll let you use probably one of the harness ones, either one on the helmet or one on your chest or something. But I doubt they'll let you use one holding it, because you're going to be going. Ah!
I'm not that much of a sissy.
As you're falling at 110 miles an hour toward the earth.
Oh gosh, I'll see what we can.
You nervous yet?
No. No. Ask me that morning. Ask Danielle to be all like, how nervous are you?
110 mile an hour before?
Have I what?
Have you ever traveled 110 mile an hour in the open air before?
I've flown a Cessna light aircraft.
In the open air?
Yeah, close enough. We'll see. I mean, if anything, if they'll at least let us take it up in the airplane before the jump, that would be cool. And then if we just, kind of strap it to the aircraft after we jump out and just keep the camera rolling, that'd be kind of cool. I'll talk to them and see what they're okay with.
Danielle's right. Probably not. I think you can't have any loose articles or clothing. That makes sense.
That does make sense.
They would let you do that. Now, like I said, a harness with your GoPro, they'd probably be totally fine with that.
That would be worth at least doing.
Think about it. How many skydiving videos do you see where they have them hooked onto their helmets?
Quite a lot. Richard Carroll Science. Calvin is so skinny, he has a lot less air resistance. His terminal velocity will be less.
Actually, less air resistance means the terminal velocity would be more.
Yeah, I'll be going.
But he will be strapped onto the skydiver, I'm sure. So that should create more resistance.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You have to do like a lawn dart going straight down with your hands behind you, traveling at 120.
The one thing that I would love to do, and I saw this in a video where they were recreating an air crash. They took an old 737, I think it was, or somewhere in that size range, equipped it with radio control equipment, and then they took it off normally with people inside. And then as they were flying along, they had people jump out.
Oh, Danielle. They're so good.
Continuing my story, the people on board, because it had one of those emergency exit, like those stairs in the back of the aircraft. Literally, it was so cool because like one of the co-pilots was not a certified skydiver, so he had to do a tandem jump out of the back, and they had a camera guy with, you know, the helmet on. They're kind of waddling out, and then they get the go signal, so the skydiver dude taps them on the back. They kind of just start walking out, and whee, just starts like falling out. It was so cool.
Danielle wants to know what these are. Do you want to tell Danielle what these are? They are
yes.
They are so good.
Oh yes, the Salinas version of crack cocaine. That's totally legal.
And he's Chick-fil-A whenever you can get mangoes with chili and lemon. I love how they spell lemon. Limon.
Oh, those things are seriously so good.
Yeah, they are. They're addictive.
And I don't even live in Salinas. Oh, they're really good. Are you kidding me? Jimmy fed me a couple before the stream, and I'm like, eat one, eat another, eat another. That was great. Oh, man, Chick-fil-A. I'm dying for some Chick-fil-A so bad right now.
So did you download the Chick-fil-A app?
I did. I've had it for a long time now.
Did you go to have you got to the point where you go and you sneak in, grab a table, and then just order at the table?
Not yet.
Okay. So Chick-fil-A has a new setup now. So at most, I think it's at all their restaurants now, you just go in, go to a table, sit down. There's going to be a little round number sitting at the end of the table. So you go onto the app, you place your order, you pay for it, and then you say that you're there. You put in the table number. 5 minutes later, they walk up to your table with your food. Hello, Mr. Witt. This is your order. Do you need anything else? A straw? More sauce? Chick-fil-A sauce. You know you want Chick-fil-A sauce. It's our version of crack.
When we were driving up to your place, our inside...
The Lord's crack.
When we were driving up to your place, the new joke became, you know how they always say my pleasure? And one of Danielle's friends actually works at a Chick-fil-A, so she has all kinds of hilarious stories about it. So I forget what we did, and afterwards I'm like, my pleasure, and she's all like, oh gosh, no, don't go there, Calvin, don't go there. Oh, it was so great. Oh man.
Oh, my friend, I think we better call it. I got some stuff I got to do before I go to bed.
Same here. I'm crashing fast here.
I'm going to take some drugs and see if I can get over this.
What do you think you have? The thing going around right there?
Yeah, I had it and I kind of got over it, and I think it's just the cold because the shop just has wind blowing through it like crazy. What are you laughing about?
Oh, if you have you seen the hilarious video that somebody put together where they were kind of like poking fun at Chick-fil-A, how their training is probably like?
Huh?
Oh, I'll send you the link later. There's this hilarious video somebody put together as a joke where, you know, at Chick-fil-A, how they always say my pleasure when they give you their stuff. They don't say like thank you or something like that. So somebody fakes like their house with their window and a friend in the cars and Chick-fil-A drive-through. And like the new guy is in there, and he gives the guy the bag, and he goes, "Thank you," and he goes, "You're welcome." The guy goes, "What you mean? This ain't no obbies? No, we say my pleasure," or something like that. And he like totally and it gets better because then he pretty much goes and is like, then the guy's car breaks down and he's like, "Come on here, dude. Come on here, dude. 10 out of 10 customer service. You can do it. You can do it." He goes, "You know how to fix a car, right?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "Get out of here." That's the video. He was constantly like, 10 out of 10 customer service. Come on, dude. Like totally holding it over him that he had that incident earlier. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, is this for real?
As soon as the stream's over, I'll tell you about my day. I go on in here, but I don't want to rant anymore than I already have.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
Oh God. Just one of those days.
I feel you.
Tomorrow's gonna be an interesting day though. Because they will determine if the bid that was placed for the company is worthy of acceptance. It's like, yeah, if you don't accept the bid, guess what's going to happen to your company?
You go bye-bye. I mean, obviously, you want to make sure that you're not like totally royally screwed over in the deal. At the same time, you know.
Oh, there's some nice stipulations on that one.
I'll bet.
Oh, yeah. Let's put this away. There's a reason why it hasn't been determined if it will be accepted or not.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, but that's a topic for another day because we got to see what happens first.
For sure. We can speculate all we want, but until it happens, it's all hearsay.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I said, I think what's going to happen is at the 11th hour, you're going to have someone who's intentionally trying to wait until the last possible minute to swoop in with a good deal and then go from there.
Well, that's what this was supposed to have been. Because he waits until 1 minute before the due date to place the bid, which puts everything in the news cycle, which makes everybody think that it's closing up when it's not closing up because it's a matter of bidding.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like that guy that
really,
waits.
I'm not as intelligent as some of these business people. These business people apparently know a lot more about stuff than I do. Because personally, I would think that you'd be better off not being in the news for something bad. But that's just me.
We could drag my sister on here and she could probably explain it, but I don't think she's up for it.
Nah. Let's call it, man.
All right, let's call it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. It was awesome. Next week, Jimmy's channel, he'll be ranting about Sears and life and being sick and everything like that.
Dab on the haters. Okay, let's go.
See you guys.